1 minute until showtime.
Unbelievable. So irresponsible. Same thing. We're all playing. See, grease, it's everywhere. So what does this do?
2, 1.
Hey everybody, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. This is Harriet Camrick with Down to Earth. It's the show in which we talk about the issues that matter. And today on our show, today being the second day of April, so the second quavable, 10 million Americans filed for unemployment in less than a month. This is worse than the Great Depression. This is worse than World War II. I just want to send love and light to all of you. And I am praying for you and praying that your lives will be restored in a short time. I am praying that things will go back to normal as we know it. And I am praying that you will have income to stay in your homes. I must confess that I'm a little bit worried about, and the government seems to be tardy to the party to effect meaningful change and relief for the people. There are lots of people who have lost their jobs and who perhaps are not going to be able to pay rent. So I'm hoping and praying for you that things are going to work out fine. We're all in this together. It's not me versus you. It's not you versus me. It's the better we're going to be at coping with it. There are lots of people whose incomes are on the edge. If you have grown children, you perhaps have to come back home, or even you yourself might have to contemplate going back home to your parents. Don't look at it like, oh, I'm such a loser or whatever. It is what it is. It's called survival. This is putting us all in survival mode. And I just want to encourage everybody this morning that be not dismayed, whatever betides you. You have to make rapid decisions that we perhaps have never had to make before. We're already making them. We were just in a gradual free fall. For instance, most of us on our commute, McDonald's. You either liked Tim Hortons or it was Dunkin' Donuts. For me, it was Dunkin' Donuts. I love their chai tea, their vanilla chai. Oh, it takes my breath away. So for many of us, our morning commutes involved stopping at a beverage stop. We thought we couldn't live without that, right? Then we thought we couldn't live without the coffee shop on the corner. We had to have a bagel with our coffee. We had to have something with it. Well, guess what? We found out that we can live without it. And many of us are going to find that you're actually saving money, not spending that. We actually are also going to find out that we used to have to eat out for lunch. Then you're finding that you're saving maybe $30, $40 a week. So you're like, wow, I'm not charging anything, right? We didn't have to pay for gas. We're not commuting as much. So whatever your mode of transportation was, you're not paying for that. So we're saving something. The problem is, I want us all to hold on to whatever money you have. Hold on to whatever money. If you get a stimulus check, hold on to it, right? I know it's a decision you have to make, but think about it. What if something has to give? What would we do? You got to hold on to it. Go take that bad boy down to the bank and take the cash. Hold on to that bad boy. Hold on to the cash. Just hold on. You understand what I'm saying, y'all? You didn't hear me say that, right? Right? Hold on to your cash because it's about to get really intense before it gets better. It's going to be a while. We just started April and we have to matriculate through all of April, through all of May. And the thing about it is, you can't even go south because they're beginning to feel to all those Republican governors who were defiant about shelter in place, and the virus is now running rampant through their state because they didn't want to upset the president and they didn't want to, announce the job numbers and so on. Well, that's what's going to be an issue anyway. Now they don't have a choice but to order shelter in place. So when you tell people to shelter in place, that means they can't go to work. So now they're going to find the same problems they heard us talking about. that they thought would never come to their state, well, it's happening there. So it's kind of like how the dog, have you ever seen the dog? When the dog is wagging his tail, it starts at the top. When he's shaking, and it starts at the top, and then it starts filtering down. So hold on. I really am praying for all of us to make it through this with our minds intact. I want us all to do wellness check on one another. If someone you're accustomed to interacting with on Twitter or whatever social media platforms you're using, if you don't see them quiet for a while, check in. Just say, hey, how you doing? Right? Just to see if you get a response, because it's going to be really intense. Make sure you have your communication mechanisms turned on. Pay your phone bill. Pay your phone bill, because they will turn that thing off. Pay it, because it is going to accumulate. You don't want to get there. Pay your phone bill, because you will need some form of communication. If you can pay your internet bill just to have something to stare at the screen at, then Lord, everybody's all in the same boat. Your rent that you pay him is his income. Make it out, right? My own home here, so I don't have to worry about taxes worry about, apart from property taxes, I don't have to worry about paying mortgage or a landlord. It is the best place that I could be at this time. So many people I know who thought they were going to make it through this in March are not, because they thought this was only going to last until the first week of April. Surely they had enough on their credit cards. They had a couple thousand savings, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in savings. They thought, I could make it through this, and so on. But now you're facing a dire situation where you might not go back to work until the end of June or early July. So a lot of people are really, really in a serious place where they're rethinking priorities right now. So I'm praying that we hold it together, right? Go to the grocery store if you must. Buy something to cook if you must, right? You're going to get a stimulus check. It's not the time to go partying. Do not have parties or have friends over. We can all do virtual stuff by now. We're all going to do virtual stuff, right? You can do a Facebook Live, or we can all just go crazy. Invite others to join in your Facebook Live so we can see everybody, right? Yeah, kind of the way it is. Pretty iffy, but it is what it is. So this morning, it just so happens, I don't know how this worked out, but today's show was scheduled from last week. And today we had scheduled to talk about COVID-19 exposing the class divide in Europe. We notice we haven't done it for America. We're just doing it for Europe, right? And just before I came on air, well, there you go. The unemployment numbers are crazy. So I want to talk about that a little bit, just within the context of affordability and what we all can do going forward. We must focus on moving the needle forward. There is life after this, and it is going to come. It may not come the way that we want it to. Life may not go back to normal, but there are some decisions we're going to have to make as we move forward. We're going to go through this because we're in it right now, right? And it's inescapable. We're going to go through it, and there's going to be severe contraction. But during this period of contraction is when we need to make decisions about how we move forward. If you're a CEO, if you're a small business owner, well, it's time to rethink what you thought was business as usual, right? We must make decisions to benefit us. You're a small business owner, but you have vehicles that are in your business name that you're paying huge loans on because you think you must have this most expensive car. And you're paying a huge loan on it, you're probably going to want to park that bad boy at the bank and tell them, you can have it. Here are the keys. I'm done with it. Just write off my loan. You're at the end of the lease. Don't renew it. So there are some decisions we're going to have to make going forward. One of the things that's going to emerge out of this, you're going to find, is what? Shelter. That shelter is more important than anything else. Shelter and transportation, primary, is what you're going to find. In my household, I don't believe in car notes. So I have a car that I don't have a note on. If it needs to be repaired, yeah, I take it to the mechanic and I'm done. If I need to go somewhere out of town, what do? I rent a car. Hello. So I'm not buying a car to impress anybody, because I've lived long enough to know that life has cycles and seasons. And when it goes down, it has a way of going down, and it takes 9 to 12 months, sometimes 18 months to recover. in the kind of situation we're in, where more people are going to find themselves unemployed in 2 weeks, because employers who said, I can carry you through to the end of March into early April, but at the end of the first week of April, a lot of employers are going to say, I can't do this anymore. So more people are going to file for unemployment by the end of April. We find ourselves in a situation where what's happening to our car notes? Where are you going to hide them? They'll come looking for them anyway, right? So there's some decisions that we all have to make. One of the most important decisions is shelter. I have been saying it for 2 years. It doesn't matter where it is. Go buy yourself a house. Say you live in somewhere like New York City and you work in New York City. You get used to a very long commute. Go buy yourself a house somewhere out in the hinterlands and go buy yourself a house. So what if you have to commute? Big deal. Wake up early and go commute. But you know what? That's yours. If you have a mortgage today, chances are they would rather collect some money than none at all. So if you have a mortgage on a house, guess what? Even if you don't make the full payment for the next 3 months, they would rather have some money than none at all. Your chances of staying in your house are greater than somebody who's living in an apartment. Some people live in an apartment for ease and they say, well, the commute is closer and so on. But you make the money and it's been nagging you for some time that you should buy a house. Now you're going to realize I really should have bought that house. I would have been better off. I was talking to a young couple maybe about a year and a half ago or so, and I asked them the same question. Why don't you buy a house? Right? And they were, they hadn't gotten married yet, but they were thinking of getting married. I said, why don't you buy a house? And they're like, well, the rent. I said, how much you paying for rent? $1,250. I said, you paying $1,250 and you paying $1,250. Combined, that's $2,400. If you know you're going to get married, why don't you go get a mortgage? Chances are you're going to pay $850 or $750 per month on a mortgage, or even $900. That's a big saving. And they were like, my God. I said, yes. I said, go get a mortgage. I need to check in with them to see what they have done since then. But do you see what I mean? And even if you're a girl, and many women are saying, well, I'm waiting for my husband or whatever. No, go buy your house yourself if you can buy it. Don't wait on getting married to buy it. When you do get married, guess what? You can have a second home, right? You wouldn't sell it. You can keep it for rental income, or you can keep it as a second home, right? But get yourselves a house so that when things like this happen, you are safe. The next thing that's going to emerge is what? Transportation. Now, after this, car dealerships are going to want to sell cars off. So save your stimulus check, save up some money, and go buy yourself a car that you don't have to have a note on. You may have to go way out into the country to buy a car, but go buy a car you don't have to have a note on. So if anything happens, they can't come knocking on your door or come looking for your car, right? And then you're going to find that you can actually live bare bones, that you don't have to stop at Starbucks and spend $40 a week every week. That's $40 times 4 is $160 a month. You're going to find that if you eat in more, you actually can eat out some. So you're going to cook some meals, and then some on the weekends, you're going to go out. We're going to go back to that. Then you're going to find that I don't have to have all of this stuff. Then we really are going to go big box shopping and buy stuff that we can store. And you're going to want a house so you can have storage in that house where you can store stuff that you need, right? I just thought I'd just share that with you. Going forward, the plan. So you have to start telling yourself from now, I have a plan, because you're going to think, what if this happens? I do. Well, here's the plan. I'm going to find a way to buy a house. If the economy may not come back the way this is looking like 2 years before the economy comes back. With these many folks unemployed, this is not 2008. This is not 2008. This is 2020. This is a whole different ball game. And with 10 million people unemployed, this is not going to come back for 2 years. So after this is over and you're back, you find yourself in a position, go buy yourself a house. Put yourself in some form of shelter, fix it up. Don't worry about this and so on, because we're like, school districts, this, you're not going to worry about that right now. You're going to be like, okay, I can drive you to wherever you need to be, but this ain't going to work for me. Because shelter and transportation are primary. Having food stored up is primary. You're in an apartment, you don't have enough space to store up food, so you only buy what you need. No, you realize that that's not conducive. Yesterday, one of my Facebook friends posted a picture. She lives in a high rise, and somebody must have started a fire, and they were all out on the street. It was not cool. These are the kinds of things you think about when you have an apartment. What if somebody else makes a mistake? Then I'm going to find myself without shelter until something else happens. You see where I'm coming from? So these are the tough decisions that is going to change our landscape and change our financial landscape. And hopefully we're going to be better, right? I love you all. And I am telling you this morning, I am in tears for 10 million people who had to file for unemployment. We need those shelter. This is just a test in the Western world to see how far the government can go. You do need shelter. How far will the government go playing with people's lives? I don't think so, right? Somebody else says we need the police. What will the police do? They're going to find themselves in the same situation because a lot of small towns and municipalities were already on a stringent budget. So a lot of those police officers are going to find themselves furloughed too in small towns and municipalities. So they're going to incorporate the sheriff of the county and the state troopers to provide more policing. That's where the National Guard is going to come in, because more police officers are going to be furloughed because of budget cuts, because some states really can't afford it. Some municipalities can't afford it, right? My daughter works for a courthouse, and they were one of the first ones who were furloughed because people weren't coming in to pay tickets and so on. They don't have any money, so they're furloughed. So what happens to those police? Eventually, they're going to be furloughed as well. So this is where you have to look and think forward. And in looking and thinking forward, you have to ask yourself, I need to make sure I have transportation. If you live in an apartment, one of the things you must think of right now is shelter, transportation, and cash on hand. Because if they say you can't get out at all, then you have to make sure you have food on hand to last you for a couple of days and cash, right? Let me see. They don't care about people's lives. This is a test for a new world order. Nothing will be the same after this epidemic. I don't know. I don't know if that is going to be the case or not, right? But I do know that moving forward, we do need to make some drastic cuts to our lifestyles. And we do need to make some kinds of cuts. Now, check this out. So the COVID exposed that our healthcare system could not withstand a mammoth pandemic like this. So now they know that, right? Okay. So wealthy people who have second homes, they left their cities and went into small towns where they have a second home. This happened a lot in Europe, especially in France. 3.4 million people in France have second homes, and those homes are usually on the coast, near the sea. So when they shut Paris down, people just left like flies and just took trains and everything and got into the smaller towns. But guess what happened in those small towns? They are not built to withstand what? The surge, the demand for food and healthcare. So the people who have always lived in those smaller towns got angry. And they're like, don't bring your virus here. Because in some small towns, there are like 6 doctors. All of a sudden, the population has doubled. And now they don't have the resources to withstand it. I imagine a similar thing is happening here, because I know wealthy Metro Detroiters who have left this area and have gone up north. But what they failed to see was that the virus is eventually going to catch you up there. And in those smaller towns, they don't have enough hospitals. And there are not enough hospital beds. There's a town called Albany in Georgia. It's south of Savannah, Georgia, right? And Albany experienced a similar thing. A well-known guy in town died, and everybody went to his funeral. This was the first week of March, when it seemed like this was a New York and a thing in California and Washington State. At least that's what people thought. I don't know who thought like that. So here in this small town in Albany, Georgia, everybody went to a funeral. It's a Southern funeral. Southern funerals are kind of different from how we do stuff here in the North. In the North, we keep it moving because we got stuff to do. In the South, it's like a family reunion and a family gathering, and everybody touching and hugging and kissing. Within 4 days, two people got sick, and they went to the emergency room. They were like, "Oh, it's just a flu. People just look like they have an upper respiratory thing." No, by the end of that week, the hospital system was stretched to the max. So in those small towns, they have a system. The healthcare system, they have a system. If too many people come in, they transport them by ambulance, by air, helicopters, right? Or they transport them by ambulance to a regional hospital. The regional hospital became overwhelmed. So they're like, what the heck? All these folks are coming in from Albany. What happened? Everybody traced it back to one funeral. That's what's happening to small towns in some parts of Europe. In Spain, the same thing. In Germany, the same thing. Are you hearing? In Italy, the same thing. This virus started in northern Italy, the wealthiest part of Italy. So a lot of people from the north fled to the south, that is on the coast. Same thing in Spain. Southern Spain is right on the coast. You know how Spain looks, right? Spain is right at the top of Africa. Southern Spain, the mouth of Gibraltar, right? Right, Gibraltar, right, Northern Africa, that little place, Morocco, right there. Hallelujah. Now we all get an education, and you're all nodding your heads like, yeah, we need to go look up on a map. Yeah, after this, when the whole world calms down in 2 years, we all need to go take a tour, right? You're from Germany, right? Well, they're having the same thing in Germany. People, the wealthy folks, are fleeing to their second homes. And in some parts of Germany, I read on the New York Times where the state police they're patrolling borders around Germany, right? Because, Germany borders on France and so on, right? So they have to say, wait. You can only go to your second home if you are working. So you can't just say, well, you're fleeing the city and you're going to your second home, because most people were like, this is just another vacation. I mean, I can afford to go, if I'm going to be confined, at least I can go to mountain biking or hiking, or I can go up to the mountains. I can go up to my chalet in the mountains, or I can go to the beach. You see where I'm coming from? So when you look at this, it is exposing this great class divide. It's made the local people very angry, because now you have brought this virus into our communities and we don't have the resources to fight it. And then you're going to get up and take your wealthy selves back to your great cities. No thanks, no welcome. But this is true of everywhere. We always knew that this was going to happen, that there are people who are wealthy and they have more resources. I saw some fool on Facebook posting yesterday. Yes, they're foolish, because they were saying that this virus is showing that there is no difference between the rich and the poor. And everybody around me was like, what are you doing? If I were wealthy right now, wealthier than I am, I probably would be in the Caribbean watching this from afar. Right? I probably would be somewhere watching this from afar. Hey, something fell down back there. It terrified me for a minute, right? Do you see what I mean? And so it probably is going to stay because people don't want to show up on camera. But do you see what I mean? I probably would be watching this from afar. Maybe I need to go to Morocco or something. I don't know. But I'm out of here, right? So think about it. These are decisions we're going to have to make after this. You know what else we're going to do after this? We're going to insist that they pay us more. You're going to stop taking $10 an hour and $12 an hour and realize that the person sitting across from you, where do you live? Do you have a second home? You can afford to pay me more. It's that simple. We're going to stop taking handouts from people. And everybody say, amen. Because what we have done is settled. What we have done is said, well, I'd rather have a job than not have any at all. Struggling to meet your bills, while at the same time, they're oppressing you and suppressing you. So that you, meanwhile, they're bawling like it's 1979. They're living high on the hog. If you were to go to some of their homes right now, they have a 6,000 square foot home, 7,000, 22,000 square foot home. The basement is stacked high with stuff that can feed a small country. Do you see what I'm saying? So now we're all going to insist, no, this job is worth $25 an hour. That's what you're going to pay me. And they say, well, we can only give you 5 hours. Well, sit here. I'm not doing it. So you're going to pay me more because you can. And if you don't, I'm going to take to social media and show them your lifestyle, and you won't have anybody doing work for you. You've got to stand and take your power, because now you know that the workforce, the working people, are what keeps economies of these countries going. All of our countries, France, Germany, Britain, America, China, Italy, Spain, you now realize that you are the economy, right? Do you see what I'm saying? You are the economy. And if you don't stand up and say, no, we ain't going to work for that. You remember a few years ago when McDonald's workers were striking for $15 an hour, and the rest of us were like, are you kidding me? Really? Sincerely, for all the sucky service you get at McDonald's, right? And you're like, seriously, you're going to strike? No, you realize they're right. They were saying the same thing we're saying. No, you can afford to pay us $15 an hour. And they are right. And guess what else you're going to say to your employers? You're going to say, I don't need to come into the office 5 days a week anymore. I don't need to spend more gas, more transportation, destroy my family to come to work. I can work from home. And if you don't want it, the entire workforce, if everybody starts asking for the same thing, they're going to topple. You do realize when this pandemic first started, the president was trying to protect big business. That's a fact. So he was trying to protect the people who had access to him, who called and said, oh my God, you got to fix this. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my business. I'm going to lose money. Oh my God. Oh my God. So he was going to create a slush fund for them to get loans from the federal government to keep their business going. You know, you and I didn't have a slush fund, right? So they were trying to protect themselves because they knew right away, off the bat, their numbers told them that if you and I don't go to work, and if you and I don't go into the malls, and we're not shopping, and we're not buying stuff, they don't have an economy to keep rolling. They knew that, but they didn't want you to know that, right? The problem is in Germany, we're bringing people here from Syria, Lebanon that are willing to work, for 4 cents, 4 pounds, 4 euros an hour. Wow. And they will soon rise up. Syria and Lebanon. So you're having an integrated economy over there. Wow. Still insist that they pay you more. You say, well, I'm German. I live here. I've always lived here. You pay me more. And if they say, well, I can get somebody in for 4 euros an hour, so let me see how long that's going to last. And you go and complain. Because here's the thing. We worked for what? 200-300 years to get rid of feudalism. And we created a different kind of feudalism. The companies, the people who own large corporations, they're the kings and the titans. They're modern kings and titans. They live exorbitantly. They're not even required to pay federal taxes. Do you see what I'm saying? So we exchange one reign for another. We're still at the bottom. Are you listening to what I'm saying? And so here we are. So if you don't sit there and say, we're the modern slaves. They're at the top. They have access to the government. So they asked the government for a slush fund from early on when they realized the serfs, we're not going to be going to work. You got to get these people to work. They got to get to work. I don't care if you have to I can't just sit here and lose my business. Well, we all need to sit there and say, really? Is that so? What do you think I have lost? What do you think I am going to lose? So you think you're the human being here? There is no divide between me and you. There's no difference between me and you. You're going to pay me. And now you are going to learn. Guess what? We're all going to learn what? Hey, that you can't say it out loud. Survive. So now you have the confidence to walk in because now you know for sure that you can survive because you just survived the pandemic. You didn't have jack. You lost everything that you thought was a prop of modern life, that you thought you needed. All the stuff they sell us. You got to have this streaming service. Have you all added up your streaming services? You're probably paying out $120, $150 a month additionally in streaming services because you think you got to have it. So now that you sit back and realize that you could actually survive, You know what? So you're going to go in there and say, you say what you're not going to do? Man, stay here. You're all going to go start your own thing and tear down the wealth of these people. They're titans and they don't care about you, nor do they care about me. They think we are dangerous to them because of our numbers, and the only way they can control us is by simulated messaging through movies, entertainers, and the greatest form of control is how much they pay you so you can't get close to them. They don't want you to be so wealthy that you can get close to them. And now here we are. Talk about a class divide. This is more than a class divide. This has been going on for some time, right under our noses, and we didn't see it. You see what I'm saying? The new generation is too busy with Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Nobody's willing to go out on the streets. No, the new generation doesn't know what they're feeling until they realize they can't graduate high school or they can't graduate college. That's when it's going to hit them. Maybe then they will wake up, because that's what they have used to seduce us, is TikTok, entertainment. Have I been saying it? To entertainment. They've been using entertainment to seduce us. So here we are. Religion itself and the performance of religion, the expression of religion too, has become entertainment. The only preachers who are popular are the ones who entertain you, because we've been socialized to think that everything has to be entertained, because somewhere along the line somebody's making big bucks off it somewhere. Do you see where I'm coming from? So now we need to go back to, because I'm telling you, this is going to re-stratify how you feel and look at things. It's going to make you think, and you're going to act on your thinking, and you're going to say, if I survive that, and it's going to make you wonder, so why do I have to pay rent every 30 days in the first place? Tell me about that. Why is it month to month? Why do I have to pay rent every month? Yeah, because if you could wait for 3 months, perhaps you could really not charge me rent every month. I kid you not. We got to look at this stuff in a different way. And you have to ask yourself, mortgage companies really could take less? So you mean I could go buy the second house I wanted, the cabin, so my family and I could go vacation? These are the questions that are going to emerge out of this. And you're going to say, so you could have provided me with health care so I don't have to be hampered with this huge medical bill because some member of my family, my child, my spouse, or whatever, got sick? So now we have these questions. I want us all to think. We've spent a whole month watching Netflix. I saw somebody on my Facebook page say the other day that they have watched everything there is on Netflix. Are you all listening? And I was like, that's a lot of shows. I can't even do that. I'm like, I don't have enough time in the day to do that. But after you've done all of that, your brain now is relaxed. And what you find now is that you start thinking about stuff you haven't had a chance to think about in 5 years. And you start really thinking. And one of the first things you do is you start going in your closet and you say, why did I buy so many clothes to go to work? And no, I'm not working. And then you're going to ask yourself, why did I buy so many? And then once that starts, I am saying to all of us, this is a time for us to recalibrate. We need to re-stratify. So when we come out of this, we have a plan and a strategy. We can't just sit back anymore and let people pay us what they want to pay us for our labor. Most of us have been socialized to not think that your intellect is part of your labor. You know that, right? You think that the only labor is physical, where you're lifting up a broom or a bag of stuff, or you're standing for 8 hours on an assembly plant. You haven't given full thought to how you have used your critical thinking skills to solve problems on the job. They don't pay you enough for that. You know who gets paid for that? The vice president, who says, you ain't going to pay. You are not letting me out of here. I have a golden parachute that I'm going to fly out of here on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that is his intellect. And you are going to pay me for my critical thinking skills. But we at the bottom, we have never quantified that and put that into context, that's what wins. No, we are like, no, I'm just a regular Joe. I just sit here and do data entry. I just sit here and just do this according to the operations manual. And I just sit here and do this. And you don't think about your intellect and the employment of your intellectual abilities that keeps that engine running and keeps the economy of that company running. How many times you have had to use your own self to make decisions? Your boss is calling you. They call you on your cell phone. They're paying for the cell phone. Call me on your cell phone that you give me. Wow. The revelation is that you best believe. We stopped having revelation because we were too busy, too fast, and weren't thinking. And it was, where did he get the idea from? And the politicians who said that this shouldn't happen, that this can happen. So you have somebody who is making all the money and they're not contributing to the country's bottom line, but they're using every tool of the country to make themselves money. That can't happen. It's one of the things that is going to happen. They're going to get him to hold him accountable. Large corporations should pay their fair share of taxes, just like the rest of us. And that's where we need to emerge. When we emerge on the other side of this, we have to really think about, well, what am I doing every day? I am going to work every day for what? I still make the same amount of money. This is not worth 40 hours of my labor. No, I can do this for 25 hours and you pay me. And I go somewhere else and do another 40 hours, 25 hours and make more money so I can go buy a second home. Or if you're still living in the city paying high rent, you can get a mortgage. I kid you not. I tell you, they're going to translate when this that I'm talking about hits, they're going to translate it in every language and promote it. I may not be able to, I may have to come to Germany for rescue. I kid you not. Because when you sit down and you think about it, a lot of this was avoidable. And we're sitting here like, I'm trying my best to save money. But I can't seem to get out of it. That's why I like some countries in Europe, like Finland and so on. You know, I'm like, they have a smaller population, but they kind of have the right idea about the distribution of wealth, and the right idea about how to treat their people for the common good. We're too rusty and rustic and rugged, and we're destroying ourselves. Baby, trust me when I tell you, this is no joke. 10 million people being unemployed right now is not a joke. Are you all hearing me? When people wake up next week and 2 weeks from now and realize they don't have a job, they don't have anywhere to live, and they won't have a car, it's going to be a whole different reality. If this is not a reality check, I don't know what is. I'm wondering how many barricades I can put on my door right now. I kid you not. As many doors as I have. I kid you not, y'all. Because this is not, and it is only going, it's before we get out of it, it's going to become a little bit more intense. I'm muting it so as not to frighten you. But the reality is, it's going to get a hell of a lot worse before it gets better. What is going to happen to all those people living in apartments who have no job, and then they're put out and have nowhere? The only good news is the courts are closed, so they can't do what? They can't enforce an eviction. But it's going to happen. What is going to happen when people don't have the money to pay the arrears? Because they didn't put a freeze on the arrears or a forgiveness on the arrears. They just didn't enforce. There's just no court to enforce a court order. Well, in some states, they will say that. Just give it up and save my energy. Right? Because I kid you not, folks, we need to think. Just think about it. We need to think. Going forward, you gotta get yourselves. If you are living in an apartment, wrong thing to do. You need to go find a house when this is over. And we all need to find a second house. Let it bother you until you find a way to make it happen. Let it bother you until you pay off one car note, or you turn in one car and you go get instead. So many people are caught up in this fantasy of, I only drive this kind of car, that kind of car. And I'm like, why are you wasting your money paying car note? Go buy yourself the same car, buy the 2 or 3 year old model of the same car that you don't have a note on. You see where I'm coming from? These are the things. Talk about a class divide since the 1980s, right? We're just not thinking. And now that we have stopped, we need to start thinking. I need to strategize what we're going to do after this. Yeah, I hear you, my friend. I hear you. I hear you. And look what happens after that. Exactly. Look what happened after the 1980s. Look what happened. Indeed. We created billionaires. That was the first thing, right? When we stopped asking questions and stopped thinking out loud and requiring that our politicians answer to us, we created billionaires. It's like my daughter was laughing last night that celebrities are posting pictures saying, we're all in this together. We're with you in this, but you're on a 300-acre farm or in your 20,000 square foot house where you're in a room that is 10 times the size of my house. You alone are in that room. Class divide. And that is something we need to re-examine and look at. And the makeup artists, the production assistants, and so all those folks, where do they live? Now you are thinking. And that's what we need you to think. We need to start thinking, what am I going to do after this? How can I make sure that when I go back to work, if I go back to work, will they be able to hire me? What will they tell me when I go back to work? What's going to happen when I go back to work? These are the questions we need to think about. Y'all not thinking. We're just kind of numbing it out because this is how we are accustomed to dealing with crises. We numb it out. We sex it out. Well, you can't even have sex anymore if you're single because you don't know who people touch and whatever. So you might as well wait on that one. Have sex with yourself. Duh, right? You're all laughing. It's the truth, right? We can't drink it out. We can't party it out. No, we got to think. What kind of world do we want to live in? Is this good enough? We exchange one feudal system for another. There were titans and kings back then. Here they are today, going straight up into the president's office and asking him for a bailout. Meanwhile, you and I are sitting down here like, what happened to me? What happened to me? And that's what we need to think about, right? It's some serious stuff. I'm praying for all of us. My God, all these people who are unemployed. Jesus be a fence. Help us. As the Italian Prime Minister said 2 weeks ago, we have lost it here on earth. Now we have to look up to the skies for help. Psalm 121, I will look up unto the hills from whence cometh my help. Be anxious for nothing. Just think, strategize. When you put pen to paper and write stuff out, it reduces your anxiety because now you have a plan. Whatever that plan is going to look for you and you, work that plan for you. Because it's only going to work for you if you work the plan. And it's only going to be applicable to you based on where you live, your demographics, your economics, your situation. Work a plan, but have a plan. And look up higher. We need to start going back to basics like our ancestors did. They went higher. They prayed. Right? Right? I'm praying for all of us because something has to give. And I'm afraid it's going to get a little bit more intense before it gets better. And I want us to have the frame of mind to understand that you got to hold on. Don't lose it. You can't lose it. You can't lose your grip on reality. Even when it's shaking and everything looks uncertain, do not focus in on it. That's why the Bible says, be anxious for nothing. Don't focus in on it. Focus on what am I going to do after this to make sure this never happens again. Right? I love you all. It is Thursday and it's Weird Tea Thursday. I'm still going to say these things because it brings some sort of normalcy to life. Even as your company tells you, you don't need to log in anymore. I don't have any more work for you to do. There's only so much work that you can do from home. The rest of it has to be done within a certain setting. Even as they tell you that and they say, we don't know when we're going to resume. Still, don't focus on it. Don't focus on it. Go sit down and plan. Plan it out. It will help you to cope because that's one way of coping is by telling you that there is hope. You're telling yourself there is hope and I have a plan and I am going to live to see the plan and I am going to work this plan And in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, we won't be at this stage. Right? Right, everybody. I got to go. They're wrapping me up. Thanks so much for being a part of my show this morning. I'd like you to go to my website, theexodusfoundation.com. Look at what we do in helping victims of human trafficking. Stuff still going on even now. Believe it or not, right? And make sure that you can tell somebody else about our show, Down to Earth. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever your favorite podcast platform is. I'm actually right now on iHeartRadio, right? You can also go to iHeartRadio right on your TV. So if you have AT&T or Comcast, iHeartRadio is one of the icons on it. If you go into your apps, it's one of the apps. You can click on iHeartRadio, and you can also stream our show as well, right? And if you're ever on Twitter, of course, you can always come over to YouTube. It's a much more stable platform. I so enjoyed talking to you this morning, everybody. It's been my pleasure to serve. I will see you again tomorrow. The days are running into one another, aren't they? I'm kind of like, I'm really not sure, but I think tomorrow is Friday. Yesterday, I thought yesterday was Thursday. Then I was like, I'm not sure. It might be Tuesday, but I'm pretty sure tomorrow is Friday. Okay. If that is the case, then I need to change my calendar. Right? Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Don't panic. Be anxious for nothing. Do not panic. Let's all look up higher. I pray to the God of the skies. I pray to the God above that he's going to help us to get through this. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Have a great day. Be blessed. Thanks, Jason Lawson.